My name is Duncan Wyse, Oregon Business Council, and I am the longest standing member of the Quality Education Commission. I think I may finally be off. I served with Yvonne, and I was when the original group, when Speaker Lundquist called the Quality Ed Commission together, and then we have an appointed commission later. And so I think Brian, as usual, did a spectacular job of explaining the model. What I would stress about it is the set of tools that are available to you, and Brian in particular is brilliant. And you have a resource that can help you answer a lot of the questions that you're dealing with as a commission or as a board. The basic question that was asked from the beginning in the Quality Ed model was an outcomes-based budgeting question. What is it going to take to achieve the benchmarks that the state has adopted in law? What are the resource requirements? And we set about to do that by asking the question, what would a school need to look like? How would it need to be staffed? To achieve that, if assuming it was also adopting the best practices that we knew at the time for those schools. The number we came up with originally, in whatever year that was basically the funding level that Portland and Eugene were at before Measure 5, but applying it statewide. And you just, because they were pretty highly funded districts, you ratchet that up, and it was quite a lot more money than the state had available at the time. But that was basically a level. But the level of funding at the time was for an outcome which was much higher than Portland or Eugene were achieving at the time. And so when we presented to the legislature, what we said is we're challenging the schools to perform at a much higher level of performance with the funds that you make available to them. That's always been my thinking, at least, for the model. The other feature of the model that I would stress is the interactive nature of it. As the model is put together, the database initiatives gives you the opportunity to go and look at every school in Oregon and how they're spending their money and what their performance is. So what Brian described is extraordinarily powerful. You can look at the best practice schools, and you can go and look at them and ask what they're doing, and then use that information to update what it will take to achieve whatever outcomes you're seeking to achieve. So it has that interactive, dynamic feature, if you use it that way, to make it a very powerful tool. A couple things that I think had not worked as well as I would have hoped however many years ago it was. One is what you're doing now, which you've already highlighted, is the importance of applying this across the continuum. I would argue you need the same set of tools for the community colleges and university systems, so you know how much they're spending and you know what their outcomes are at those levels, and you need it for the early childhood system. So you have the model, that information available to you across the continuum. The other feature that I think we really need to think about, and this is why you all are so important, is while the commission, I think we've done great work, to make it work, it's got to be integrated into the budgeting process itself. We have never adopted a budget in the state that said, here's the budget levels we've established, and here's our expectation for what elementary schools are going to produce. It's just been the number, whatever the number is picked. But the legislature, if you use the model fully, you would say, here is our funding level, and here are the performance expectations we have for the schools at elementary, middle, high school, or in the new case, the learner groups. And that's what you're about. To me, this is the most exciting opportunity we've had to actually then tie the outcomes to the funding level. And there's a lot of additional work you can do, but I would just commend to you this guy in particular. You all do great work on the commission, but he's the guy who actually does the work. Use the tool. It's very valuable. And understand that it's a lot richer than you may understand. It's got a lot of value. And so I encourage you to both exploit what we have for K-12, but I would also stress you need to extend this across the community. It's got useful. It's a very powerful model for thinking about your work. The final thought I would have is what it doesn't do, and I think what we could do with it, is it assumes school buildings as we know them. One of the things when we started the model, we modeled the high school, for example, and we said, given the current high school, this is the best we can come up with to hit the 90% goal. But I remember at the time, Brian, he said, but we're not sure the current high school actually works as a model for getting these goals, so you may have to reinvent the high school. So one of the things we've done at OBC and with a number of partners has been the Small Schools Initiative. We can actually model the small schools against a big high school. They don't actually cost that much more, not paying anymore. And they produce better outcomes, and we can show that with the model. So you can use the tools of the Quality Ed Commission to think about very different models of delivery. But we haven't done that traditionally, and I think it's something we ought to be asking ourselves, given innovation times, what would it take at any funding level to do something really different than what we're doing now? And again, the model we're used to do that. So, enough said. Thanks.